Salutations, my name is Summer, and this is my mother, Sharon, and we are here doing the Rootin Tootin June on the Range tag that was created by Steve Donoghue. I'll link his channel down below. And I was tagged by Brandy at the Booklectic and Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. So thank you so much for tagging me. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, number 1, a ways out west. Have you ever been to the American West?
Yes, I've been to the American West. The only states I've not been in is Washington and Oregon and California, which that's completely west, but those are the only states I haven't been in, so I've been out west.
Well, when I was 3, we moved to Texas.
We did.
Until I was halfway through 2nd grade, we moved back to Ohio. So I've been to the West.
And we really did live in the West back then. We lived in West Texas. We lived in Fort Davis, Davis Mountains, and there were dirt roads. It was just the only road that was really paved, I think, was the main one that went through town. And there were cowboys out there, real cowboys. They didn't look like the cowboys on TV. I just want everybody to know that it's not what you think. They had a different kind of hat altogether. Maybe different areas have different kind of cowboy hats. I don't know, but not what I thought. Different kinds of boots, that type of thing.
Oh, and you said about Bugs Bunny.
Oh, yes, Bugs Bunny. When we lived in West Texas, and it's a real small, Fort Davis is a real small town, but when we lived there, Summer and her brother were watching cartoons, and Bugs Bunny was on. And I had watched Bugs Bunny for years, but I never really paid any attention to it. But I realized that one day that Bugs Bunny said he lived west of the Pecos. And that's exactly where we were. Fort Davis is definitely west of the Pecos. So we were really out in the wild in Texas.
Yeah. Okay, number 2, Dry Gulch. What's the smallest town you ever visited, and how small is your town right now?
Our town right now is a little less than 900 occupants, our census, and it's small. I think Fort Davis was smaller when we lived there, but that was back in the 1980s, and there's 1,000 that live there now, but I think it's grown a little bit. I think there was less than 1,000 when we lived there. Like I said, I don't know if there's still dirt roads or not. It's been years since I've been there, but it was it seemed wilder and less people, whatever it was.
And right now, we live in a very small town.
Yes. Now it's just a little under 900.
You already said that.
I did. But I said it again. How's that?
All right. Number 3, where the buffalo roam. Have you ever seen an American bison in person?
Yes. I've not actually seen one that was completely out in the wild. We did see, I'm sure we've seen them out when we were out in West Texas. But even then they had fences, even though the ranches then were, 1,000 acres easily on the big ranches, but there just wasn't any water out there. And so it very seldom rained. And so for them to be able to graze naturally, they had to have lots of acres. So you would drive forever and just see one cow, or, they had the longhorns, and maybe a buffalo, and then you wouldn't see anything for a long time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like here where we have our cows all in one area, and they have plenty of food and water right here.
Yeah. I always imagined I had seen wild buffalo, but I had to ask her because I was like, it wasn't my imagination, or have I really?
When we were out there driving and we seen, oh, look, there's a buffalo, and it was close to the road where you could see it. It was pretty wild.
Yeah. Okay, so the second part of that question is, what's the largest hoofed animal you've ever seen? And we were talking about the Mennonite and Amish
The Mennonite
horses.
horses, they're pretty big, but
They're
the buffaloes are really huge too. And so are the big longhorns. They're bigger than what you think. I mean, because you were in a car seeing them, but if you got up close to them, they'd be big. So I'm not sure which would be bigger, but the Mennonites do have some beautiful horses around here.
Huge horses, yeah.
Huge ones.
We're not counting animals that were in the zoo.
No.
We don't count that. And also, do you have evidence that you live near coyotes?
Yes, you have always lived by, I can't remember when we haven't seen coyotes or lived by close to coyotes, because I guess we lived in Austin for a short period of time. Being in the city, we did not have coyotes, but now you hear them. They always take their young and they always run the creek lines, and we've always lived by creeks, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so you see them all the time. I have I've seen two, I guess, because I don't know if it's the same one or not, but I've seen them walking down the alley, going the same direction. I don't know where they were going. It was always funny because I always wondered, that's a coyote and it's walking down the alley. What's going on?
They walk different.
It was always toward evening, getting dark when I seen them. But I always thought there had to be something going this direction that they wanted, or they wouldn't go down the alleys like that.
I've seen them early morning. There was just one that I had seen. And I see them running out in the field sometimes. And you can hear them. We live kind of like in a valley, so you can hear them. Something else we have things we shouldn't have here in Ohio. I just went to the vet maybe 3 weeks ago, and there was a woman who was there who had a small dog that had been attacked by a bobcat. And she actually has, and somebody else I know has on their trail cameras, they have footage of bobcats. So we have bobcats here, and rattlesnakes.
We do have rattlesnakes
in Ohio.
Very seldom, and you don't hear about them too much, but you hear about them, and I'm sure they don't keep them around, but they don't talk about it too much. And we also have bears here.
Yes.
And we have all the other
I haven't seen a bear.
All the other animals that you could begin to think about. We're surrounded by the foothills of the Appalachia, and anything that you could think of would be there is here also. So
yeah. All right, number 4, old Doc Frye. What's your history with westerns, novels, TV, movies?
Well, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and so if you watched any TV, you watched westerns. That was the main. There were more westerns. You always had Roy Rogers and Cheyenne and Sugarfoot and Maverick and the Riflemen and all those kind of things, and that's what my family watched. I didn't always like them. Oh, I guess my favorite was Wagon Train. I like Wagon Train better because I like their experience of going west, and there wasn't a lot of killing on Wagon Train, and I wasn't big like the Riflemen. Someone got killed, at least one person got killed every show, and it was a big to do, and of course it was always the bad, horrible person to their point of view. So,
yeah. Well, growing up, I don't remember really watching any westerns besides like a little bit of that Bonanza, and then when I was
I'm sure it was old. Bonanza was when I was young, so it had to be a repeat kind of thing. Oh, we're talking about movies now again, right?
Oh yeah, the American West.
I got to talk about How the West Was Won.
Oh yeah.
When I was young, and I'm going to say I don't remember, between 9 and 11 is what the age I think I would be at that time. We all got dressed up, which people did that back then, and we went to Cincinnati, and there was a theater, and I don't remember the name of it, but there were 3 screens, which was something you didn't have. We had drive-ins, but we didn't have anything with 3 big screens on it. And we got to see How the West Was Won, and I thought it was fabulous. And it had anybody you could think of that was in the movies at that time was in this show. There were so many actors and actresses and things, and I thought it was wonderful. Until about 10 or 20 years ago, I picked it up on a DVD or video or something, and I watched it. Not so good as it was, but at the time period, it was considered, to me, the ultimate, because it really told the history and it had a lot of everything in it. It was really a great movie.
I've never seen it. So was the screen like how the Omnimax is?
Basically, but there was the Omnimax sort of curves around. Where there were just 3 screens. The middle one had the main thing, and then on the sides. So when you sit there and an arrow went by, you thought like, oh, it can be close to me. I'm going to move back a little bit. So it was like that.
All right. Number 5, Diamond Lil at the Rialto saloon. What's your relationship with alcohol? Ever had a friendship with a bartender?
Okay, I never had a friendship with alcohol. I don't drink, don't like the smell of it, don't like the taste of it, never wanted to drink, don't drink. And I'm usually not friends with, I mean, I don't care if other people drink, but people who drink a lot, I wouldn't go to bars. I don't think that's fun to watch other people drinking too much or anything like that. Never been a saloon. So
I can't believe it.
there might have been something out west, but I don't remember any saloons that we even had the opportunity to go in back then. That was in the 80s, so there could have been one. I just didn't know about it.
So I think it's been probably 2 years since I've had a drink. I just don't. I feel like it's hard to read. It's hard to craft. It's hard to, do anything if you're drunk. So I'm not.
Well, I have control issues, so I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose control of how I act.
Yeah. So, okay, number 6. The City Slicker from back east. What do you consider the best Western you've ever read?
I like Ride with the Wind. That was probably the one that I really loved the most. And then Lonesome Dove would be second.
I think I like Comanche Moon better than Lonesome Dove.
Well,
but I need to reread them. And that's because of Captain Skull.
I know. I don't. I read it, and I don't know if the movie was about him or not. I don't remember that, but there are movies on all of it. But the book itself,
him in the movie.
Okay, the book itself was kind of violent, and I just don't like a lot of violence, and so it was one of the things. That was one I didn't care for as much.
But it was more violent, but it was less crying.
I have to admit, there was a lot of crying in Lonesome Dove.
Yeah, no spoilers, but...
But that's what makes a good movie. If you don't cry or you don't laugh, it's not really much of a good movie.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, number 7, The Man with the Badge. Have you ever been in charge of other people? What's the most authority you've ever handled, and would you be good at it?
I would say the most authority was being a mother. Don't know if I was good at it, but I know I did the best I could. So what I had and where I was at and what was going on, that's that.
I was going to say, and she had her own business.
Well, I did have a bit of my own business, but I made it a family business. It wasn't a different kind. I had a choice there, and it was family where I got family members to work. And when I didn't have family members, I tried to treat the other people as family and made sure that the time period they worked or whatever they did worked out for them, and it was something that they wanted to do and was willing to do without really being forced to do.
Yeah.
So
I've never been a boss, and I have cats, so I'm still not a boss. Let's see. Number 8, The Tombstone Kid. Have you ever fired a gun, been a gun aficionado, or been shot?
I have fired a gun. Your dad, Rod, insisted when we moved out in the country that I learned to shoot a gun, and so I did. I never really was thrilled over it. I didn't like it, but I did shoot one thing. What are you thinking about now?
I remember you shooting out the door.
Oh,
but up at the air.
Well, I was shooting down the ground.
Or down the ground.
Yeah, I did that because that's when.
Yeah.
That's when we lived in Fort Davis, and there were some people that were coming around the house, and they took out a screen, and he was gone, and I seen him running off, and I just shot down the ground. I didn't want to shoot him, but I didn't want him to.
So you didn't shoot anybody.
I didn't shoot him. I wasn't trying to shoot anybody. I just wanted them to think that I would shoot them if they gave me the opportunity, even though I would never want to do that. Doesn't mean I wouldn't try to save somebody. But I did shoot a snake.
Yeah.
When the snake was trying to eat these little kittens, and I couldn't get to it, and it was underneath some wood and stuff. So I did shoot it, and I didn't kill the kittens. So see, I did.
She must be a good shot if you can shoot a snake. So I have never shot anything. I have held a gun because of my dad. Like when he would leave, he'd bring down a different gun and be like, "This is how you shoot this gun," so I have held a gun, but it always felt like holding a wild animal, and I was never comfortable at all.
Yeah, and I do want to say your dad would have taught you to shoot a gun,
If I wanted to.
but if you would wanted to, and we
But-
were and lived in the right place to do it.
Right.
You know, you just can't go out and shoot a gun, and you know you have to be where you know it's safe, that where the
Yeah.
bullet's going to go. So, and by the time you got old enough, you know,
Yeah.
you didn't have that opportunity or that space.
Yeah. And I told her sometimes I wish I had a gun. Okay, number 9. It ain't the bullet that gets you, it's the fall. How would you ideally like to cash in your chips?
You go ahead, because that's one I don't even like to think about so much.
I have always said I would like to die in my sleep, but now I would like to have a little bit of heads up because I have so many cats and I don't want to leave her with the responsibility of
Your cats.
my cats.
Although I have dogs and I'm willing to leave that responsibility to her. But saying that, I had thought when I first read that, I thought, oh, I want to die quickly. But I decide quickly is probably not good enough because you could be in a fire and you could die quickly, but you could suffer a lot. I decided I just want to die peacefully, however that ends up being.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, number 10 is tag some owl hoots. I'm not going to tag anybody. If you want to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. Thank you, Steve, for creating this tag, and thank you, Brandy and Kelly, for tagging me.
Thank you. We have fun.
Else?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.